customer. I'm sorry, you can get a discount if you're not a Feather customer and interested in joining their software solution, which helps you do online advertising for your association. I know a lot of you are Feather flockers. Also, Association Analytics and its Acumen product, Open Water that helps you do online virtual events, Prop Fuel does conversational marketing, and my own company, Ricochet, which will help you with your digital marketing strategy and your digital marketing campaigns. We have a full class today. There is a chance that today's class has more content than any of the other classes. So I was reviewing my materials and I cannot figure out how I'm going to speak at a regular pace and still get all of it covered today. So hold on to your seats. I'm going to do my best. We have a lot to cover. And before we jump into the content, Key Largo, that's a great place to be from. Kelly, are you on vacation in Key Largo or do you live in Key Largo? I'm going to let Kelly answer in the chat. Vacation. And actually, that reminds me of a few things that I should mention. Remember, you always need to use your Zoom link, your personal Zoom link. And that's because that's what we use to track your CAE credits and make sure you have access to your certificate at the end. But that doesn't mean that it has to be from your computer. So you saw last week, I was broadcasting from the road, and you can take class from the road. You can log in through your Zoom app on your phone. And in fact, that's the best way. It actually lets us track more confidently that you are logged in, but you can also call into the Zoom line and join us in that way. So you can do it while you're on vacation. You'll never leave me, right? You can't escape. All right, exercises for today. Be sure to tell everybody that you're in this class. We think it's so important that you tell your boss, of course, that you're investing in building your own skills, but tell your peers too. Tell everybody that this is important. We are in a time of big change and good digital marketers are investing in educating themselves. And Tom and I are going to try something a little different. We're going to ask that maybe you can hashtag us with Association Academy. And I wouldn't mind it if you tagged me. That's how you spell my name, and the way you say my name is Gloede at the end. It's a confusing name, but I always get my own username, like the one IMC Gloede, everywhere. You've got a LinkedIn group, and there's a little bit of conversation going on in there. So I just made a post. I asked also past students that are part of that LinkedIn group to tell me if they're using OBS or Trustpilot, and I responded to a post. Somebody had a comment about how they are using Adobe Premiere to enhance their online education videos. And you can actually look at the example that she gave. I just checked it out for a minute, so I need to circle back. And I even tagged Tom so he can take a look at that too. So be sure to hop into that LinkedIn group. Hey, Tom, thanks for including that link so everybody can make a quick pass at it even right now while we're going through the rest of this content. While you're in LinkedIn, guys, when I've connected to a lot of you, I've discovered you don't have very good profile pictures. So thank you for connecting, but you need to also be in improving your profile photo to make sure that you have a strong digital presence and you set the pace for your organization. Tom might have a handy link for that one too. Yeah, Tom might have a handy link on how to take a good profile photo. You don't need a professional photographer. You can do that on your own. And, we ask for feedback after every class. And one of the things that we get coming up every now and then is, hey, I'd like to dig deeper into this content, or I want to learn a little bit more. So we are going to start including in our post-class emails links to some books or other resources that will help you continue learning about today's topic and next week's topic and more. So in after today's class, you'll get an email that includes, the link to the presentation and the video, but we'll also include links to these books and also that particular webinar from Adweek that I think might be interesting to those of you that enjoy it. And Tom's already started the live broadcast. We're really excited to welcome some people from the web. We're going to broadcast just a portion of today's class to give you a taste, if you're not already a student, of what it's like. And if you like what you see, enrollment is open. Our next semester starts, I believe, October 7th or 8th. It's on the website. So we would welcome you in the fall semester, 10 weeks of live instruction, 10 CAEs, and a digital marketing certificate. Okay, stretch out, grab your sandwich, because here we go. Pay attention, everybody. We are jumping into paid media fundamentals. So before we get into the details of paid media, I want to give you a little bit of level setting. Remember, that good association marketing means that you need to perform in 4 areas. You need to have good organization design, good marketing strategy, good marketing skills, good marketing tools. And this falls very squarely in the strategy, these fundamentals. Now, I was trying to remember, did we already talk about the rule of 7? Did we cover this in a previous class? I feel like we should have. No is the answer. All right. I was looking, I didn't see it there. So who knows what the advertising rule of 7 is? I'm seeing no in multiple languages, which I appreciate it. I took the point. Yes, so I see this 7 touches to convert from Jeff. Lisa says 7 contacts, 7 touches. Yes, and Sharon puts it really succinctly there. You have to hear something 7 times before it sticks or before you take a purchase or convert an action. So that's absolutely right. This rule's been around forever. I heard this when I was starting my marketing career 30 years ago. The advertising rule of 7. We often think we send out 1 email and people are going to take an action, but that's not really how it works. And if you think about your own purchase decisions, you'll understand, like, yeah, you need to see an ad, you need to talk to your friend, you need to see a post on social, then kind of you like ramp into making that purchase decision. Who knows a little bit of the history of rule of 7? Guess what industry came up with the rule of 7? I looked this up, so I'm cheating. But does anybody know how this originated or when it originated? Lisa has the guess. That guess is what I would have guessed. Newspaper, but do you know it was the movie industry that came up with this in the 1930s? So they probably did some research and were trying to sell pre-roll advertising. They used to have pre-roll ads at movie theaters more than they do now, more than Coca-Cola ads, which is what I mostly see. And they developed this concept and explained this observation that people needed to see a call to action advertisement 7 times before they took an action. And in fact, do you think 7 is still true today? So that was 1935-ish. Do you think that's still the truth today? Yes, so Lisa's ahead of me. Stacy's in agreement with Lisa. I don't think it's 7. I don't know if it's 17, 70, 700, or 7,000. Deirdre says just 3 times. Adnan, you had a comment last semester, last class, and I'm sure I mispronounced your name then and now, but I certainly think that we can all agree it's more touches. I haven't seen recent research that tells us how many more touches. All right, so last week we definitely covered the different types of media. So we talked a lot about social media, and you should remember all of these, there we go, there's my pointer, all of these media types. There are some that are a little odd and not common language, like earned media, but you should still remember what that is. Today, we are talking about paid media. Paid media is the media that someone else publishes or owns. You want to be on their media channel. So before we jump into this, I'm taking you through these 7 points. You need to understand the fundamentals before we jump into the details of paid media. I want to explain to you why it's good for associations. Then we're going to talk about budgeting, campaigns, targeting, messaging, bids, and the different marketplaces you can play in. So let's talk about why paid media is really good for associations. And I'm going to save this question for another slide or 2. But let's start with why it's so good for us, you and me, and it's been great for our industry. We have in the association industry decades of individual contact information. Some of you may remember, I think I've mentioned that I worked with Kraft, I've worked with Unilever Hair Care, right? I used to do shampoo advertising. I worked with automotive companies, even I worked with Chrysler. But all of these companies generally had pretty anonymous data sets. They didn't really understand or know exactly who their customers were. They could tell me the demographics, but they couldn't tell me the names. For the association industry, we got these member roles. We've known these names for actually probably more than 100 years for some of the associations that are in the class today. And then what we did with those names and those email addresses was we damaged the email channel. So we over-emailed them. But to the rescue comes paid media, because now we have super efficient online targeting. And those email addresses that we use to over-email our members and customers can now be used to, in fact, do email matching. Who knows what email matching is? Is this a phrase that you're familiar with? Email matching is just the process of taking our email addresses, loading them into our paid media targeting tool, and letting the tool figure out who that person is on the web and then placing the ads in front of them. So, and Angela, you're right. I was the only person without hair in that ad team, but it made me really pay attention to the research. I didn't have preconceived notions. So email matching, yes. I only see two people tell me that yes, they use email matching. So does anybody else use it? Is this a new phrase to you guys? There we go. There are some yeses. So I see, oh, in fact, somebody says I use it with Feather, yeah. Okay, and some people are saying it's kind of new to me. So this is an important takeaway for you. Email matching is a really valuable tool that lets you become hyper efficient with your ad spend. Who can tell me why I've got a register and a piggy bank here? When we talk about budgeting, we talk about it a little differently in the paid media world. So my conversations are different. This is kind of a stumper. It is because it is typically I have kind of untracked ad spend, like in the cash register over there. That's just an expense, right? But with paid media, this is intended to be an investment, like the pig. So that pig represents an investment. I'm saving, I'm putting money away, and then that's going to grow. If this pig was earning interest, that would grow and pay dividends in the future. So when I'm talking to my board, and when I talked to my board about going deeper into paid media, I continuously reminded them that this is not like a technology infrastructure investment, that this is something more trackable and that it produces a return. So I may be asking you for $50,000. That was a number I did ask for. It's a ton. And then, but what I'm going to return to you is $75,000. So it's an investment, and it's a very discreetly tracked investment. All right. Yes. And Adnan, you had that one. You had it right. Okay. So I'm also going to give you a little bit of insight on what I see as common campaigns for paid media. So almost everybody, come on, I got to get this weatherman thing down. Almost everybody uses, when they use paid media, they almost always start with events. So that's events there on the left of your screen. Then in the middle, after you've done events, you kind of evolve into maybe some marketing campaigns, some paid media marketing campaigns for membership. And then finally, you do like random other stuff, and it kind of is not the big part of association paid media. Generally speaking, people start with their events. And in fact, they don't just start with any event, they start with their number one biggest event. So many of us, especially during COVID times, started doing paid media for our annual conference. So if you weren't doing it in 2019, I would say, I'm not going to say most, but I'm going to say a large number of association players started using it in 2020. And Jessica's saying, yeah, we want not just one email address from our members, we want all of their email addresses to help our matching rate. And I've had challenges also before with email matching B2B addresses. It's a lot better than it used to be. All right, so we're working through our 7 fundamentals. The next one's around targeting. You can target by running ads based on the website or app or keyword content. And you can also target at the individual level. We do a lot of targeting by email address. That's the common one, increasingly powerful. But you can also do lookalike audience, and you can do segments. So based on demographics, psychographics, technographics. That's one of my favorite words, super cool. That's based on the devices that they use. Geographics, enthusiastics, I gotta be honest, I made that one up. That's based on followers. And linguistics, the languages they use. You might target on English, or I know we have some Canadians in the room. You might be targeting your ads. Probably you do. You only run your French ads in front of your French speakers. All right, so let's hop ahead. You know I love the funnel. And in fact, you can use this funnel as an organizing concept for your media. And here's kind of some rule of thumbs that are generally, but not always true. If you're trying to drive awareness, you would be using programmatic ads. And if you don't know that word, you're going to know that word by the end of today's class. And if you are trying to do consideration, you might be looking to put a little bit more money into paid social. And then finally, if you're trying to drive purchaser final transactions, you may be doing a lot more money in paid search. as well as sometimes we do programmatic. Okay, quiz time a little bit, but we're going to do a quiz in the chat. So there's two types of ways that you pay for your online ads, CPC and CPM. CPC stands for cost per click. CPM means cost per view, but that's not what the acronym stands for. Who knows what that CPM stands for? Let's see some answers in there. All right, so this one's so confusing, and I wonder if it's not those French-speaking Canadians that had the answer right there at the beginning. It is, in fact, cost per 1,000 views, and that M stands for mille. I looked it up and then I forgot how to pronounce it, which I believe is French for 1,000. You don't see French pop up a lot in online advertising, but mille, there we go. Thank you, Denise, for correcting me. Mille, CPM, cost per mille, which means 1,000. Cost per 1,000 views. It's a little obtuse, not so decipherable for us, us US citizens that only speak English. All right, so you can bid in these two ways. There you go. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the marketplaces where you make this happen. Your programmatic happens there. You can do increasingly online advertising in Amazon. Not so relevant for us today as association marketers, but also Apple search ads, and then the Facebook audience network and Google ad network. Paid social plays in Facebook and Google ads even. Can you believe that? They still have a little bit of social there. LinkedIn and Twitter. And we talked in a previous class about the big social networks that are relevant to you. And you'd have to figure out which networks are relevant for your association. Somebody even mentioned that they use TikTok because they had a lot of Chinese targets that they were trying to bring in. So that made sense. Paid search is a lot of Google ads and even Microsoft Bing. We don't talk a lot about Bing these days, but it's still out there. And then you might use tools to manage all of those marketplace buys and bids. You might use Feather, and many of you do. You might use Centros Basis, or you might use your marketing automation platform like HubSpot. And the Trade Desk is out there as well. And I see somebody's making a comment about TikTok. Jessica said that they are thinking about it. And what I'd like to just kind of mention is you see who's playing a lot in all of these spaces is Google. They haven't been so popular and strong in social, but they have figured out how to monetize digital advertising to great financial gain. All right, those are the fundamentals. We talked about how you damaged your email channel. I mean, I shouldn't say you because it's we. I did it too at the American Bar. But those email addresses are super valuable for us. We talked about setting up a budget that's an investment, not an expense. We talked about how you might build out your campaigns and target either by the content or individual levels. We talked about messaging and basing that on the funnel, bidding on CPM or CPC, and then the marketplaces where you can make those all happen. Now, that was a quick fundamentals. We're going to jump into some more details right now. But before we do, we're going to say goodbye to the folks that are joining us on this live broadcast. Thank you for joining us. And remember, you can enroll. It's at associationmarketing.com. The next semester begins in early October. Thank you, but you students don't go anywhere.